Hi everyone, it's Pete here for the Pain Toolkit, and look, we're back. We're back at Pain Toolkit Conversations, and we've got some, the usual gang really, and I'm really digging it. We've had a little bit of a summer's break. Good to be back, and I'll tell you what we do is if we can just briefly go round the room, the virtual room, as they say, and we can just introduce ourselves, just briefly saying who we are, what we do, where we're from, etc. Okay, so what we do, we'll start off top, we'll go top to bottom in my screen anyway. Bronnie,
Kia ora tātou. Call Bronnie Lennox Thompson aho. I'm Bronnie Lennox Thompson, and I'm in Christchurch, New Zealand. I'm an educator, live with fibromyalgia, very passionate about pain self-management.
okay, thank you, and Mary.
Hi, I'm Mary Wing. I'm in Adelaide in South Australia and I live with chronic neuropathic pain and I'm involved in running peer support groups for people with chronic pain, research and lots more. That'll do.
Susan.
Hi everyone, I'm Susan Reed Schellinck. I'm an occupational therapist from the very far west coast of Canada. Yeah, and I work with people with chronic pain, certainly my passion. And I'm currently doing my thesis or my master's right now in pain management, so I'm pretty excited to be doing that. Thanks.
Virginia.
Thanks, Pete. Hi, everyone. I'm Virginia McIntyre. And I'm from the other end of Canada than Susan. I'm in Nova Scotia. I am a person who lives with pain. I am, as with same as Mary, wear multiple hats. I'm a pain advocate, presenter. I'm also the lead of the People in Pain Network, which is a real unique network offering national peer support in Canada for those who live with pain.
Don't forget Action on Pain.
And I am, thank you, Peter. I am the co-host of the new podcast, Action on Pain. Please chime in.
Excellent. And last but not least, Jerry.
Find the notorious mute button. Lord have mercy. By the way, most people are saying mute yourself, not unmute yourself, Jerry. Jerry Durham. I am a physiotherapist by training of now, I think I'm in my 34th year in the United States. And it's funny with the Canadians all spread out. Basically, I'm below Susan part-time and then I'm below Virginia part-time. So I go um coast to coast, but mostly in California now. Again, I'm a physio by training, and I'd say what I bring to this group is the perspective of we need to do better in healthcare and putting the people we serve first, plain and simple. And there's a lot of empty talk and a lot of empty statements in healthcare about that. And I am here to take action on it and get that stuff done. So I love this group. I love the diversity of the group around the world, around the experiences and all of that. So thank you, Pete, for asking me to attend.
Well, thanks, Jerry, and thanks everyone for introducing yourself. So, we've got a topic for discussion, but as usual, perhaps I know we're going to veer off onto other stuff and whatnot. But I think the question from I think we last met in perhaps maybe late spring of this year, and I think the question that Bronnie set was exploring the intersection of pain self-management and peer support and how to advocate for a voice amongst key holders and policymakers. Now, it's fun if I can just sort of just put my halfpenny worth in. Um, Funny enough that soon after I think we last met, I was invited to get involved with a project up in the northeast of England, and it was called a patient's jury, and where um, I wasn't actually part of the jury, but there was people up there, patients, who had the opportunity to tell the local healthcare providers what they thought they needed in regarding managing pain. And I was just involved pretty much on the periphery of it all. But the And what I had to do, and other healthcare professionals, just do quick presentations about what we did, etc., and what opportunities were out there. And what I'll do, I'll actually send you the outcomes of that patient's jury. But it was quite interesting, really, about the outcomes was they want less treatments and more self-management stuff, So whether the local healthcare decision makers, commissioners, etc., actually take on their ideas, time will tell. But it's a great for me anyway. It's a great question. From my point of view, yes, we need to have more self-managers and people, coaches, etc., involved in part of the decision making, because I think a lot of people who are running healthcare, they have limited experience of what pain self-management is. So I think it's up to us really to be a bit of a beacon really, and offer them ideas and what can be done and how to reduce, from their point of view, reduce costs, um, uh, GP visits, A&E visits, and stuff like that. So listen, I'm going to open it up now to everyone, but I think it's a great topic, but I'd like to hear from everybody else what they think it is. And as I said earlier on, I dare say we'll veer off onto this will stimulate other ideas as well. So who wants to start us off?
If I can start off with a question, Bronnie, could you maybe, if you can, or remember, that was a while ago, sort of what made you think about this question, or what sort of brought this question to forward to us?
A couple of experiences actually. Two extremely positive experiences, and project that Virginia is part of on suffering and defining suffering, pain-related suffering, and the way that was conducted. It's a piece of research that really included people with pain from the very beginning, even generating the question. And then in contrast to this, another project or another time when people with pain were approached after the fact to consult on some research. The research question was not something that they were interested in or cared about, and their views were sidelined. And I've also been in another project where the person leading that project lives with pain, but the host university needed the person who was employed by the university to lead the project. And this is not uncommon. Our LEAP group, so our lived experience advisory panel, is an advisory panel. It's not a collaborative panel. So that's where it came from. And I guess it also stemmed from nothing about us without us, but it doesn't seem to have filtered down to pain management. That's a theme in, I don't know, spinal injury and brain injury and mental health, but pain, it's like, we'll do things to you. And when people with pain say, I have preferences, I would rather not do that type of thing, I want to do this, that's seen as wrong or bad, or you're not taking the message on board. So that's where it came from.
Sorry, Mary, I see. I forgot to say, if you want to contribute, just like Mary's done, just put your hand up.
Oh, I was just going to say, Bronnie, that I've done some work with Adelaide University, working with a lecturer and doing a presentation and then a Q&A for second-year physiotherapy students. And the university simply gave me an employee contract and worked it that way. So these things are so easily overcome. I was just wondering why they can't do that for you as well.
This particular project was a lot of money. It's a research project. And it
Yeah.
was in the administration of that research project that it was deemed that you had to be a researcher employed. The fascinating thing is that the money was actually for a community-led project, which struck me as ironic. So
You
yeah,
see this so often, don't you? You got people with, you see these committees set up to work things out or do things like every day you'll see one, and then you'll look at all the people that are doing it. And it's all about patients and and there's never one on the committee. There's never one consulted. And it's just really strange. It is improving, I must say, but it's very, very slow.
Virginia.
Thanks for that. I mean, I agree with you when you talk about patient partners. I think many places are lagging and some places are far ahead. I am thrilled to share that in Canada with Pain Canada, and we bring back about the self-management, supported self-management. The National Advisory Committee with Pain Canada has developed a subcommittee which is on supported self-management, and people who live at the table. I'm at that table or at the table of discussion, and it's a national thing. So we're going to talk about supported self-management, what it is, how we want to get that word out there of what it is. And as myself as being a peer supporter, that and everything else that goes under it. But again, you need to have people lived experience a part of these things because you have to get this stuff out to your healthcare providers, your policymakers, your researchers. Everybody needs to know what this is and how to implement it.
Suppose one of the things that also struck me is, so as a researcher, and when I'm creating a budget, if I bring in, say, a biostatistician, or I bring in somebody who's got particular expertise, we factor that into the budget. But I've seen people with pain not remunerated, not respected. I see that as disrespectful towards, we bring expertise in, and when trying to build a budget, a token amount might be included. You can pay this tiny trivial amount, nothing commensurate with the years of living with pain and the experience that we bring. And the converse part of that, the other risk that I want to just put in there, is that you can be quite vulnerable as a person who lives with pain, involved in something where it will take time and energy. And sometimes we don't have all of that. And so then we're seen as not committed. You come and go, we can't rely on you. And failing to really recognize that in the pursuit to live well with pain, I think sometimes people forget that pain has a toll. Always, like, it takes energy. And so kind of seeing us as experts, not wanting to pay for us, and then being unhappy because we haven't got the energy, the drive, that everybody else has, as if that's a reason to exclude. Yeah, I'm getting very outspoken, but this is why I'm doing this research and why I want to develop a framework for research in New Zealand to, let's not do that. Let's not be tokenistic. Let's be really respectful from the outset of the particular expertise, not just in research, but in developing programs and developing content and developing how those programs are delivered and the outcomes that are important to people with pain. Because, unless we're measuring things that matter, these programs might do wonderful things, but if they don't make any difference to things that we care about, then what's the point? Well, I'm getting on soapboxes. Sorry, guys.
No, Bronnie, I completely agree. And I've really struggled with this. I used to work in a hospital that had a tertiary pain program, and I was quite often creating groups that the people needed, not what I thought was there or what the evidence thought was there, but what my actual people coming in. And I tried to get them paid and they said no, they can't. I said, gave all the research and all that kind of stuff. But not only were they not willing to pay them, when they found out that I had two people with pain, and often, as you're saying, Bronnie, pain doesn't allow people to make the choices they want to make all of the time. And so I'd always have two, so there would be one there, hopefully. I mean, if not, I was there, but they ran the group and they did the talking, and they were amazing. And not only would they, we couldn't get them any sort of benefits for being there. They wanted the powers that be wanted to stop them from coming because they were coming so often that they wanted to open up to other people. Like it didn't make any sense to me. Like it's hard. It's that idea of how do we get past that bit where they're so clearly important to this group. And I fought, and the medical director fought very hard to let them come, to the point that I had just let them come and didn't put them down on the sheet that they were there because they weren't taking anyone's seats. There were still seats. But I was getting in a lot of trouble for doing that. So I don't know. I don't know if anyone has any experiences of how to jump over that, whether it's a hospital or whether it's research. But I guess that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the Pacific Pain Forum. It's a online for people in pain or in person for clinicians group, and they're very, very good. Keith is on the board. Pete, he's on the board for that and is a very vocal member and very good at getting not only speakers for people in pain that have pain, but the perspective of that. So I think we do see that happening. I think that's maybe more rare, but yeah.
I think one of the people I've been told this like by many I don't want to call them really decision makers, commissioners, etc. over the years, that they're very wary of people. I'm not, I know they want to call their patients, etc. But us, I mean, we are people, patients, etc. But the thing is, because I think they've had dodgy experiences, where people will they come there with an agenda. Let's put it like that, and it bogs the meeting down, or the bogs down their project, etc. Like because it's like, well, and I think so. That's why I think sometimes they're a bit reluctant to involve us guys. Like so saying that, I mean, all of us on here tonight, we're people living with pain. The vast experience we've actually got, not only with living with pain, but the actual qualifications we got. Like like Mary, you've done the Stanford course. I've done my Stanford course and other qualifications in education and stuff like that. Been involved, if you include when I was a driving instructor, up and upwards. Like I've been involved in education since the late 70s. And but it does start. I think it's because they've had a bad experience with patients in the past that they're a bit reluctant to get us involved, etc. Like but I think I think you had a quote you said, Mary. Not nothing about us. Was it? I always forget what it says. What is it? Not nothing with us without us or something.
Nothing about it.
I think who said that? Nothing, but it wasn't me.
It comes
I
from
do say it, but it wasn't me
19
today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
came from
Bronnie.
the 1970s disability advocates and saying nothing about us without us.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
firmly
yeah.
of that belief. One of the things you said there, Pete, interests me. So, yes, I agree. Sometimes clinicians are wary because they've probably had some uncomfortable encounters with people who are distressed and really looking for something to take it all away. And they found one thing that might have helped them, and they think everybody should have that.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that's not a really good opportunity to have a conversation. We can't dissension and differences of opinion is, we all have differences of opinion. Doesn't mean we should shut people out.
Mhm.
Diversity is about bringing that out and talking about it and looking at the good and the not so good of those different perspectives. To me, it's a little bit about, there's a threat to power. Who owns the power in this relationship? Who has the authority to do the thing, whatever that thing might be? And that has not been vested with people. It's been vested with those with, expertise. I think I've got a bit of expertise about my pain. And I've got other expertise as well, but failing to remember that we have expertise as well. Doesn't mean that the way that works for me works for everyone, but unless we bring that to the table and we talk about how and when and where and why it might be a good thing, we're not going to listen. We're always going to have this big divide. I asked in a conference, I've done it a couple of times, of clinicians, how many of you have chronic pain? And usually it's a good half of the audience. So clinicians are talking about themselves, but they're suspicious of people who are patients. I've avoided using the word patient quite a lot. I've been pulled up on it. I'll put a marker there because I want to come back to that. But if we see ourselves as people first, who happen to have a range of skills and experiences, where, we've got research, we've got graphic designers, we've got presenters, we've got people who've been tech bosses, we've got people with huge range of skills who also happen to live with pain. Then we stop seeing ourselves as, you're just this one identity. Coming back to that term patient, it was actually Professor Kevin Vowles who nudged me a little bit. There are times when using that term patient might not be a bad thing, because it respects this really important relationship that there is between the person seeking help and a clinician. That's a really special relationship. And that's when I think it's appropriate to use that term in that context. But outside of that interaction, I am not a patient, I'm a person, and I make decisions, and I want to be informed, and I want to contribute. Yeah, thoughts?
So
you're muted.
Expecting that phone call?
No. Yeah, not yet. Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing this up because I struggle with this a lot. And I've sort of come to love thoughts on this and maybe other thoughts that don't concur with mine. Usually when I'm in a situation where I'm in a hospital or that sort of bit, it'll be more of a patient. And I have had people, but I usually, because I'm self-employed, I usually call people clients. When I'm talking about my group, I call them clients. And people with pain, I know people have issues with that. People with lived experience, I don't know. I don't know, like what do we do what we should do with every kind of questions like that? Like whether it's race or gender or whatever, ask the person. But I mean, and when we're talking, like when I'm doing speaking to groups, what do we say? Any thoughts?
Be really controversial. We're customers, aren't we?
Well, yeah, that's definitely another one. I haven't used that one. I think because I'm uncomfortable with the idea of asking for money, which I have to do. You
Consumers
know?
is the word they use here.
Time, energy, and money. I think if we say, by the way, sorry to jump you, Mary. I just want to comment on it. I believe this term healthcare consumer, right, gets beat down a lot. I go, but if we don't respect, right, everybody goes the money. I'm like, what about the time and the energy, right? The money is right. So that's where I go, Susan, with this is I say, look, I want to respect this person who may be a patient, by the way. That's the other thing I say, right? In the way I try to
Yeah.
speak this. But if we respect the time, money, and energy, I think it brings us bigger context to it and then helps us better to distinguish what we more of the maybe label that we're using. So sorry, Mary. Thanks.
No, no, that's fine. I was just going to say, if you live in Australia, the word consumer is used all the time, and it drives me nuts, to be quite honest. I don't really like it because everyone that I speak to says it reminds me of going to Woolies and doing your food shopping, and it's just really weird. And I've actually had to become bilingual to make sure that I don't use that word when I'm not speaking to people in Australia, because they wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about. So, yeah, I think I don't know that there's any answer to it really. It's
Yeah.
just, I think it's all about respecting people for who they are. And I think if people are so worried about engaging with patients that maybe, and having patients on projects and whatever else they may want to involve them in or should be involving them in, instead of tick boxing them, how about interviewing them, having a chat with them? Surely you can pick up from that what their agenda may or may not be, what their experience may or may not be. It's just not that hard. Especially when we have things like we're doing now, we've got Zoom, we can do it on there. You don't even have to do it face to face if you don't really want to.
Mhm. I love that, Mary. I think when I'm doing talks, and I appreciate everyone's thoughts on that, I often will say, patients, clients, people with pain, whatever you want to say with that, whatever comes out of my mouth when I'm talking might be different, but you please pick the one that works for you. But yeah, I think it can be clunky a bit.
Sometimes is it not even, it's where you're at. Like if I'm at a conference, I don't want to be referred because I'm not your patient there. If I'm in my physician's office, that's different. Then I am the patient there. But when I'm at a conference, I'm coming with a lived experience, expertise, plus other tools that I have, plus a career that I may still have or I may have had in the past. So I think it really is in the content of how to address us.
Oh, I love that because people, when I've called people clients when I worked at the hospital, they said, "Well, what do you mean I'm a client? I'm a patient." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, yeah, that's hard, but you're right. Contextual is important. Context is important.
Jerry, can I ask you a question, Jerry? I know you're doing a lot of training. I follow you on social media and stuff like that, and seeing that at the moment it seems like you're all over the place. But when you're training, what sort of does this come up? Within your training, does this sort of conversation come up in you know, within the training, outside the training, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we project a lot, right? As a species, we project, right? Oh, nobody would pay for that. And I'm like, wait a minute, right? Nobody would do this. Oh, but coincidentally, everything I do, everybody else would do, right? So yeah, trying to get this idea down, Pete, where I tell everybody, look, this is a conversation. And I did want to mention this part, and I think it's been alluded to a little bit. I said the moment you pick up that phone, this person you're talking to is on a journey. And they're asking us, usually, right? Hey, can I get scheduled? Means they're asking us if we can come along on their journey. And I love this analogy. I really think it works here, right? They're asking, will you come along on this journey with me? AKA, are you the right person to join me on this journey? Instead of going, right? Because we default, I'll just say in the States, by the way, I'm always bringing the context of the States here. We default to, okay, Virginia called. She said she needs physical therapy. I'm going to put her on the schedule. I'm like, really? Why? Why'd you put her on this? Right? I end a lot of the training, Pete, with why did you put Virginia on the schedule? She wanted physical therapy. And then you know what else I do? What's physical therapy to Virginia, right? And then I like to ask, where's Virginia in this journey? So this idea, Pete, that we have to make this the conversation has to be, well, here's the kicker here where I start, Pete. The conversation has to be about Virginia and not the business, right? And we all know, I'm going to say this is universal. I'll make a universal statement here that if I called any other of the countries that you all are in, I'm pretty much going to get walked through a checkbox that's going to have nothing to do with me. And the fact they asked me my name didn't even have to do with me. They asked me that because they had to put me into a system. So this idea that, look, right? And I say, we can do this, right? I have to say this. This was actually, right? I got this from outside of healthcare. One of the most impactful people on my journey is a book from the business world. And it was one of my colleagues in a group I was in at the time. And I didn't even know she had written the book. It was pretty cool. And it's a business book. And she says, look, when people choose to do, and bear with me on the terminology here, but if they choose to do business with something, they're going on a journey with that company, right? And the business wants to bring you along that journey. And this was a huge tipping point. And they go, the potential customer's journey doesn't always line with the company's objectives on the journey. And I was like, holy shit, that's exactly what we do. So how do we align the business objectives with the person's objectives as we move the thing I like here a lot is like paperwork. Does anybody know anybody? Again, I'm going to make another universal statement. Nobody has ever called a healthcare practice or anywhere in the wide world going, can you please give me some paperwork to fill out, please? So again, thinking about it from this context, right? And this has been one of the most successful parts of my journey in helping people do this is seeing the change in aligning the business objectives in a way that I'm talking, and Virginia, you're sitting right next to me, so that's why I keep saying Virginia. That aligns with what Virginia is asking me to do for her. And I say, oh, by the way, Virginia, right? And even telling her, you know, a big change in my process was telling Virginia there were 5 pieces of paperwork when you arrive. And by the way, Virginia, let me tell you why you need to do this before you arrive. And I told Virginia why every single piece of paper was important to her in her journey with us. I didn't say, I got a HIP agreement, I got an intent to treat, I got a financial document, right? So again, Pete, going back to this, it's yes, finding out again, where is Virginia in this journey right now, right? She's on a journey. Where is she right now? And then using her answers to ask better questions so she can tell us what she needs, what she believes is best for her. And then I can tell Virginia authentically and honestly if my practice aligns with what Virginia needs. So this idea of that's the other thing in the States, man. We put people, everybody goes on the schedule. Everybody goes on the schedule, right? And this is where your self-management comes in, Pete. And where I thought we were going to go with this is going up higher and putting people in here to keep people off the schedule, right? Move them to self-management. So I'll stop there. Obviously, this has been right the last 15 years of my life. So stuff like this is really what I like here. And right, it's all been trial and error, really.
Thanks, Jerry. Sue?
Well, I just want to send love to Bronnie. Thank you so much for that, Jerry. I love everything you said. Because when I'm trying to figure out where this person is on their journey, Bronnie, and for almost, I would say maybe every talk I do, I have your slide, a slide of your, which I've asked you to use and you've granted it. Thank you. That was maybe 10 years ago. Do I have to re-ask every year? I will. Where you're making sense, are they in the making sense of pain? Are they in the moving forward? Like where that's for me clinically, that is such a powerful way to quickly determine, especially again, I often am private pay, which I want to get through things. And I hear you, Jerry, when you're saying nobody wants to fill out a form, but I'm like, but if I can get them to do that and not charge them and then talk to them about it, I mean, I don't know, that's maybe for a question another day. But Bronnie, thank you so much for that. And I don't know if you want to say the name for anyone who's watching that might want to also use it, because I do know so many people that use it because it is a very good way to conceptualize where they are. The other very quick way I do it is say on a scale of 0 to 10, we all hate those scales. I often just use my hands. Where are you are you surviving or thriving? So are you here where you're this end surviving? Or are you more thriving? Like where are you today, right? Because it might change in an hour, it could change tomorrow. But that tells me, give me a bit of a hand. But if you don't mind, Bronnie, if you know the name of that, it's just escaping me.
It's from my PhD. So it was the really the process that people described. I interviewed people who identified as living well, and I wanted to find out how they got there, because much of our research is on people who are not living well. And Tim Vicker is a master's student who has just done the same thing for people who live with CRPS. his paper's just been published in Disability and Rehab. My paper's also published in that journal. And it is that, to me, it's where are you in this journey? And you can go backwards and forwards for sure, because that's normal, that's life. But it helps us decide, are you ready to set a whole bunch of goals? Do you really want to learn a whole bunch of strategies right now? Or are you just trying to get your head around this really weird thing that's happened to you and you just don't know what it means? This is sort of the essence of person-centeredness. And to me, person-centeredness can be a bit of a phrase, an empty phrase that some people are worried that it means person-directed. I'm going to tell the clinician what to do. Some people think that it's that the outcomes, the thing that is unachievable, unattainable, you want to be pain-free. That's not going to happen. So, it can't be patient-centered, person-centered. Lots of people think that they are person-centered, and it's only in reflecting that they realize they're not. And a student of mine won't mind me sharing this. For part of teaching, I've been teaching pain assessment this semester, and I asked them to watch somebody else do an assessment. Well, she turned the tables. She asked her patient to tell her what he thought of her assessment. She said it was incredibly eye-opening, incredibly revealing, that some of the things that she thought were really great and were person-centered weren't. Some of the things that we'd been talking about as not being terribly person-centered, like measures of 6-minute walk test, and doesn't tell you very much about the person, but for him, that really mattered to him because he had MS and he wanted to be able to go further, walk further. And so that was a meaningful thing. When we're person-centered, the power relationship changes, and this is what the student reflected on, that the dynamics changed. She had thought she was person-centered, and she undoubtedly is, but now she said they're actually much more up here, collaborative. And I think that's where we want to be with pain management. And the final point is that pain self-management's the result, not a thing that we do to people. It's where we get to. And people are on a journey to get to that point where they're self-managing, and they're self-managing for different parts. Different parts are relevant. People are ready for different bits, but there's an assumption, particularly in pain management programs, that everybody comes in with the same readiness for the same staff, and then they're going to leap out at the end with this perfectly formed pain self-management, and then they won't need to be seen ever again, and it's going to save us money. I don't know that we should think about it that way. Go. I'm really looking forward to what Virginia is wanting to say.
No, you talk about pain self-management, and it's where, I find that interesting, where you get to, where you're self-managing. But I think that comes into the term where Pete's talked about supported pain self-management. And if you're walking along that journey with them, the same things we do as peer support, you're working along, you're not getting to a spot where you're doing it by yourself, because it's tough. It's tough. So I think that, I like how Pete brings in that word supported, because you are doing it with somebody alongside of you.
We all need supports of various types.
Well, I think that originated from you guys anyway.
I think it might have come from Keith, actually. First sort of pushed me on that one. But I think the interesting thing is that it is a journey, and we will need different support from different people and different agencies and different resources throughout our journey with pain. Just as everybody does. When you're a parent, you want different resources, from when they're babies to when they're 33 and buying a house and have a new dog. They need different resources. Well, so do we as people living with pain. Sometimes we need a whole lot of stuff. Sometimes we need a little less. We probably need to be able to pull people in on our team as we need, and to feel we can do that. Yeah.
Jerry? Jerry's gone muted again.
I mute myself in two places. I think I've told you guys this before, so sometimes I haven't unmuted myself. While Bronnie was speaking, I said we need to do this all throughout their journey, not just with the. Remember, I'm a provider. That was the biggest impact when I got outside of the provide. I don't know, how do we do this, right? And I think we might have talked about this, and maybe this is somewhere to go. And I think it's always underlining, how do we get the providers out of the space? By the way, you know where I got some of the most valuable feedback ever about the work I was doing was sitting in the waiting room of my own business. I got to tell you guys, I learned so much. Oh yeah, it really was. And by the way, I don't like to say I did any of this stuff because I was smart enough to do it. I think I was literally sitting there one day and realized the power of it and then started to do it. When I started managing these calls, right, I stepped in to take the calls. My name's Virginia, I need to schedule physical therapy. It was, hi, my name's Jerry, right? How can I help you? I wasn't Jerry the owner. I wasn't Jerry the physio. I was Jerry, the person here to help you. And I think there's a good opportunity to tie this all together. And again, I want to talk about the states. I believe October 3rd of 2025, we're at a tipping point here for self-management for a lot of where you just went, Bronnie, because I'll tell you why, God bless America, it's going to be driven by the dollar. Because the dollar's gotten so bad, right? So the spend has gotten so bad here that everybody knows they're finally acknowledging it is not sustainable. So this idea of doing a lot of the work that you just said, Bronnie, yet I call it further upstream. So again, right, Virginia calls the physical therapy office. No, Virginia is getting contacted by someone to say, Virginia, right? And again, this is where the self-management comes in. This is where patient advocates come in, right? So I believe that the self-management, and by the way, Pete, I think I might have shared it with you. I'm starting to see self-management, the term, poke up in places it's never been, man. And I think I shared it with you recently. So we are at an opportunity, and for whatever reason, right? It is the dollar, so let's just run with it. And I don't know, whatever the incentive is. And actually, I'm actually going back to my profession and go, if you really want to get paid for the value you deliver, we got to go upstream. And this is the other thing that's the big mind bend for everybody. If we keep people out of the system in the States, everybody's finally acknowledging that's how you make money. Because the spend is so much. So how do I take what Ronnie shared and build out the systems? And, this is what I love to do. And this is what I'm trying to do. If you guys see me share the term patient engagement, is building out patient engagement is a strategy of how we manage and talk to people in their journey. That is it. Because if it was anything else, I couldn't do it. But how, a Virginia Pete comes in further up system and no, doesn't have to talk to a provider. No, doesn't have to talk to anybody else, but he's got to get this word, let me just use this word, triaged properly. Right person, right place, right time. We were seeing that in healthcare 35 years ago, and now we're at the tipping point. And what I'm talking about is, where does Virginia need to go? Where does Bronnie need to go? And if I don't know where they are in their journey, then I can't help them. So I love the way, and this is what I'm hearing here, right? Is that this is coming together. It really is in the States. So God forbid we actually lead up the front for once, but I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's happening, right? So I just wanted to share that part because I love how that all came together and where the work, again, we talk about that space with the provider. I'm like, but man, all that time, right? Okay, I got 15 minutes. What are we going to do? I always say, what are we going to do with the other 23 hours and 45 minutes, right? So
yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mary.
I was just going to say, I think, I'm not sure about other countries, but I feel as though there isn't a lot of faith in patient-led self-management courses and patient-led anything. I don't know why, because the only people who do this are I think it stems from perhaps some not so good support groups that have been run on social media. I personally have a facilitator in another state online, and he went through that. And with complex regional pain syndrome, by the way, and had a terrible time. And then he found us, and you have no idea what he's doing now. If I had time, I'd tell you. But I think that it can be extremely valuable. I see the relief on people's faces, but we have trouble getting people to come. And I found out recently that one of our pain clinics that will remain nameless is supporting us to the nth degree. However, I had a man tell me that he was told he can't contact us until he's seen them. I'm thinking, why? We can fill that gap while he's waiting to get in there. We can help. We can be company. We can be support. We can be teaching him a few strategies to use too. As long as when these groups are run, the people are trained in running them, then I don't see any reason why they're any worse than anyone else. They might even be better sometimes. So this is the difficulty we have in getting the message across to not all, but some of the health profession in the fact that advocates, patient partners, etc., can actually do this stuff.
Thanks, Mary. Sue?
Mary, 100%. Right. I think that, and I do agree with you. And I think especially this group here, the people with lived experience are so highly trained. I'm coming from a little bit of a different perspective. I'm in a smaller center, and I'm not sure what center you're in. And every group I do, I always have people with lived experience who will give their opinion. And what I love about, I always have more than one because, as we talked about, people in different parts of their journeys and or have different diagnoses or different experiences or different way that it affects them. So I think that's great. I love being the clinician there selfishly because I learned so much. My best things have been learned from people with lived experience. As well, I love evidence, of course, but that's fantastic. And I hear you, Jerry, when you said get the clinicians out of there. And so my question to that is, or my thinking around that is, yes. But what I like about being there, again, I've already said I'm being selfish being there, but I can help with that part we talked about with Bronnie, the making sense of the diagnosis. I can bring the science at a very sort of understandable level. I speak at a definitely grade 5, sometimes grade 3 level about that. But I also feel that it gives people who might not be able to make it that day a bit of a relief. I do the organizing, I bring the treats, I bring this, I do all that planning stuff so they can show up and be their experts. And I wonder too, I know some of them would have a difficult time doing the training because of they work full time and have kids and stuff like that. So I don't know. I guess it depends on the situation they're in, but I just wonder. I wonder how we best do that because I am absolutely convinced people in pain can lead these things. I've seen it, I've experienced it so much, but I think we also have to support them to allow them to not be too overwhelmed, especially if we're not paying them to do these things. Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
Sorry, Virginia.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna chime in quickly. So I'm co-leading a project with Spore Evidence Alliance here in Canada, and it's on peer support. And in the scoping review, one of the questions we asked is the clinicians' attitudes towards peer support. And, it's one of the things we want to know, the clinicians' attitude, the impact on facilitators, is it effective? And we come up with, well, one, we need more research. There's not a ton of research out there on it. But what we did find is they do believe it's effective. There's not that doubt, but their concern is, and as what we see, like Mary said, it's what you're seeing in other groups, is the impact on the facilitators and the effectiveness of the group. What materials are they sharing? What are they doing? So that's why we've partnered nationally across Canada and offer peer support where our facilitators are given extensive training and they're supported in this journey and getting continuous training. And, and I think that's huge. So a clinician is talk to the organization, go in the door, sit there at a meeting and see what they're sharing and what they're doing. And all our material is evidence-based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And fantastic material. Absolutely. Yep.
Jerry?
We have, so take what everybody just said. By the way, I'm not saying the physician or the clinician doesn't belong in the process. Here in the States, they're over leveraged over everything. So, and not right person, right place, right time. So I've defaulted to that. Now, mind you, I came out of school believing that, and then it gets beat out of you, and I tried to bring it back. So I've been up and down on that. But right person, right place, right time. Hi, my name's Jerry. Right. I have low back pain. I want to get scheduled for physical therapy. You call a physical therapy in the United States, and I'm going to say 99.9% of the time, they're going to put you on the schedule. That is the destination. They're not going to ask you where you are in this journey. And then, therefore, so if we took that as the 100% of those people do not need to be on a schedule. By the way, if we put 100% of those people on the schedule, guess what percentage show up? Because it wasn't the step they needed, and because nobody had asked them the questions, Virginia, that you just alluded to. I love that, right? I want to bring my services further upstream. So I want to be the person on the phone with someone going, right, right, asking these questions. What do you think about this? Where are you? Using the CPGs, using this other knowledge that these other studies have brought from people, right, and everything, and going, okay, Virginia, here's the next step. And it could be a phone call, it could be a telehealth visit, it could be in the clinic, or it could be do nothing. Because I'll tell you what do nothing means. That means I'm calling you back in 5 days, right? We have this term called care navigators. And by the way, I just learned this like within the last year. We have this term called care navigators in the States, and they're getting more and more popular. And by the way, they're not clinicians. They're people that are calling to check in. They have the information they need about the people they're talking to. They know about the diagnosis because they could be for heart disease. We'll stick with the musculoskeletal, but musculoskeletal wise. So these care navigators are not clinicians. And I believe the care navigator role, by the way, is going to be the one that explodes in this whole journey, right? Because it's someone who then is there to support the person that you just managed, right? And actually, what I've loved and I've learned in a very short amount of time is they're at that level. Nobody's sitting around and waiting for people to call. They're reaching out. Virginia, how are you? Last time we spoke, boom, 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 boom. And Virginia says, you know what, Jerry? I'm doing well right now. And I go, right? And we high five virtually and we do all that. And then I say, Virginia, I'm going to call you back in 30 days. Will that be okay with you? And she says, yes. By the way, if it goes the other way, right person, right place, right time, right? So I just wanted to throw all that in there. And this care navigator thing, because in my world, Pete would be like a high level care navigator. No, he wouldn't be well, he could be a care navigator, but it'd be in a category of self-management type, right? So we're sitting at a time here where God bless the clinicians, right? I get it, yet they're over leveraged and we could say overutilized if we wanted in this state. So, right, I want the Pete's. I want these. I want to work with the care navigators and the Pete's. I got to be honest at this point in my journey. And yes, I know great clinicians, and if we get them there and they need it, good. But the work I believe that we are all talking about is not going to require a clinician.
Okay.
My question, because I know we're running out of time, but my question is, so we do have some really good, they're calling themselves pain coaches. They are not registered health professionals, and they've been through our program, our postgrad diploma in pain and pain management. Their problem is that they are not funded, and because our health insurance will not cover it, our publicly funded services won't cover it, and because referrers won't even refer in to these people who are highly skilled. They've done, masters and postgrad diploma in pain. They know their stuff, and they're not being used, and that galls me because there is the sense that we can have entry-level registered health professionals who've done very little, if any, pain training, come in and do work with people, but people who've done their postgrad learning and are skilled and capable aren't being used. Funding is a big problem. I don't know the answer, and that's why I guess I was asking the question, because the care navigator role, is available for Māori in some instances, but often not for anyone else. And I can't see why it's not for everyone. They're spread across all the things. And I think there is a certain amount of specialized expertise needed for pain that's important. Yeah.
Thanks, Bronnie. So
Yeah, just really quickly, I think that is our big next step, and maybe that's our next question is how do we get people in pain paid for what they're doing? I think from what I know of Virginia, because she's also Canadian, and I know a lot of great work she's done, she should be a millionaire. Like the amount that she's contributed. And if I had it, Virginia, I'd give it to you. But how do we do that? Like how do we stop taking advantage? And I know I have when I reach out to I have a group, as I mentioned earlier, pre-chat. I've got a group of people with CRPS that I every talk I do, I email them and saying, hey, what are your thoughts on sleep? What are your thoughts on intimacy? What are your thoughts? What would you want people to know about this? And I always do offer them to have a free session with me. But it feels hollow. Like how do we get private business involved? Like how do we get that respect for the incredible value that these people give? I don't know.
So going above the research, the ground level, this is about a systems approach. This is about policy. Yeah. This is about working with like in New Zealand, our Ministry of Health and our ACC, saying actually structurally what you're doing is not working. You can't meet the need. And there are people who are able and willing and capable to provide. In New Zealand, Jerry, the employers would not be part of this picture because our healthcare is not tied to insurance with the employer. But yeah, it is something that I think it's a broader conversation for our community. I think. Anyway, enough.
If I can amend my last statement. Sorry, if I can amend my last statement, Mary, you also deserve $1 million, I'm sure. I just don't know as well. Just to be clear.
Well, we've come to another end of another conversation, and I think it's brought up more questions. And I think we've done a lot of talking tonight, a lot of good conversation. It's flagged up. I'm sitting here thinking, wow, that's another question we need to ask ourselves, really. How do we go back to how do we become like an influencers to healthcare, social care, because that's another part of pain self-management is the social side of it, social care side. Like here in the UK, where a few years ago they married the Department of Health and Social Care, and now it's called Department of Health and Social Care because they recognise that really they need to be connected more. And as we all know, that pain isn't after 3 months or so. Pain, all the other stuff kicks in as well, like the social side of it, social matters and whatnot. So perhaps that's for another day, obviously, but just want to say thank you to everybody who's joined us, wherever you are on the planet, whether it's morning, afternoon or evening, etc. I always enjoy this stuff. Always come away with a lot more wind in my sails, because I think us guys we get beat up quite a bit with, because you get to a point, I don't know, perhaps it's just me that they can't do people. And I think people that get involved with what we do, we are the can-do people. But I just put a bit of wind in your sails. I know that where we are now with pain self-management or pain supported self-management, it's we are I call it Captain Kirk stuff. We are light years away from where we were, from where I first started off in this in the early 90s, and so the fact that we can talk about this stuff like where we're using technology now to meet up, etc. But the answers are out there, and it's just about how do we put what glue to use? How do we influence those people that pain self-management is people friendly, healthcare professional friendly, because everybody, so it's for next time, probably we can talk about what sort of glue we're going to use, etc., or something like that. Because that's one step at a time. So we have, as things have really, really moved on. But I know we are perhaps we're just impatient, like many people that we see, in our professional capacity, where they want to, get rid of pain and then get back in the driving seat and on with their lives, etc. But hey, listen, keep going. We can do this. Like, we've got this, and it's not a, it is a problem, but we've got solutions there, and it's how do we influence those solutions to the other dudes out there. So we'll see you again. Hopefully, if I'll organise another date, probably squeeze in one before the Christmas period, if everybody's up for that, and then we can go into the Christmas period, but even more winded ourselves for the up and coming year. Don't forget we got the fourth Pain Self-Management Conference coming up on it keeps going to hate me. I can't remember now, but I know it's the latter part of February, 21st, I think, something like that. So yeah, so that be, and also we got Pain Self-Management Week that week. So it would be great if we could, on the next meetings, what have you organised? What are you guys going to be organising to celebrate that week, etc. And next year's a bit of an anniversary for me of been 30 years. Next year will be 30 years that I attended the pain management program. So I'm looking for ideas and how to celebrate it really. And so it's a bit of I never thought I'd be around that long, because back in the day I never thought I was going to be this far ahead really. Anyway, I'm carrying on getting ahead of me time there. Is living the day, Pete, and stop overthinking. Anyway, so see everybody again. Everybody's watching this on the video or listening on the audio. I hope you found this interesting, and let us know. Take care. Have a groovy day. Ciao.
Thanks so much.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks, Pete.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.